Hello, this is Ken Ferry with this week's Boots in the Field report. Most areas received a well-needed rain. Reports coming in of 0.7 to 3.5 inches. And we had about 2 inches around here and none of it ran off. Still can't see it in the creeks or the ponds. Man, it gave everybody a chance to stop and lick the wounds and patch things up. This has been a long stretch of harvest that we've been trucking through. Our soil sampling crews, they were glad to see the rain too. It definitely will help getting the soil probes in the ground. This moisture will be a big help when it comes to applying anhydrous ammonia to get it to at least seal up for us once the soil temperatures come down. Now, max soil temperatures are still hanging in that mid 60 to upper 50 range. So we still want to be patient, wait for those max temps to get below 50 degrees. You know, in this day of nutrient reduction loss strategy, you don't want to be that guy or that fertilizer retailer that everyone is talking about. Most beans have been harvested. Everyone's hard at the corn. I made a quick trip across to Iowa, and from road scouting, I could tell a number of fields had been clipped by that September frost. You can tell by the kind of silver green color in them. Talking with the growers, yields are good, kernels are deep, but the test weight is off. And again, that frost just took off some of the top of that yield. In the drier areas of Iowa, getting reports of field edge scalding, and that's the case where the field might be running 2 to 220, and those outside 24 rows are sub 100 bushel. Now, this usually happens in the south and west end rows, especially if they're not next to another cornfield. They're next to a bean field or open area where the prevailing winds can push in and push those ET rates up too high for those outside rows. Now, these same conditions of high ET rates and dry conditions also can be the reverse on a year with plenty of moisture, and those same areas can produce your highest yields. Kind of gives you an idea how important ET rates are when it comes to yield, especially in corn. The research crew had a big push on finishing up bean plots. Jared took out our deer repellent plot in soybeans. Boys, the numbers here look good, especially in those treatments up next to the timber. We'll take that in deeper detail this winter, but I think we do have some answers there. We finished up the beans here at the Corn College campus, so the bottom of the market of the bean market should be set in now. We sold them across the scale. In our planting date plots, where we planted 2-6, 3-4, and 4-6 maturity beans, we planted them on April 12th, April 27th, and May 12th. On the 2-6 bean, it looks like moving from May 12th up to April 27th, we picked up about 2 bushel. Moving from April 27th to April 12th, we picked up 5 bushel. The 3.4 beans, we actually picked up 8 bushel, moving from May 12th up to April 27th, but only 1 bushel moving on up to April 12th. On the 4-6 bean, we picked up 3 bushel, moving up from 512 up to 427. We picked up another 5 bushel, moving that bean up to 412. So it looks like a 7 to 9 bushel gain from planting on April 12th versus May 12th. This does surprise me a little bit on the basis that it took forever for those April 27th and April 12th beans to get out of the ground. So that's kind of interesting there. In our bush beans, compared to our narrow or straight line bean plot that we had, where we planted 6 maturity groups from a 2-9 up to a 4-0, and we have 15-inch rows and 30-inch rows. It looks like the narrow row beans did respond to the narrower rows by 3 to 5 bushel, meaning they were 3 to 5 bushel better in 15s than they were in 30s. But it looks like no response to our bush beans to row spacing. So that too is kind of interesting. We had a sulfur plot where we looked at different sulfur products and we looked at different application timings to the soybeans. And here too, we did show a positive response between 2 and 5 bushel. Now, the data in these campus plots is not well replicated, but it will be presented this winter at our virtual college on January 5th. A lot of you guys want to know what those plots do when you've been here, and the data will be presented. The crew took out one of our big planter fertility plots. While there is a difference between treatments, it's not as large as last year. When corn comes out of the ground in 4 to 5 days, it probably doesn't need as much help as we typically would expect. So there's responses there, but they'll be smaller. Corn fungicide plots here locally are not showing a lot of response, but I expect that will change as we get to areas with more pressure. With that said, Jared took out a fungicide plot in the sweet spot for weather this year, and with 15 entries, the plot averaged over 300 bushel. Matter of fact, only one entry went under 300 bushel. Dry land plots like that are far and few between. Getting a lot of calls from guys doing fall tillage ahead of next year's soybeans so they can plant early. Remember, these fields will have to be level to sterile seedbed into them next spring. Waiting for it to dry enough to level could push you out of the slot of getting planted early, or cause you to level fields when it's wet and lay in a compaction layer. You may want to level these fields this fall while it's dry and get yourself set up for spring. With harvest conditions being so dry, I believe next year will be a great year to no-till both beans and corn. No wheel tracks or ruts to deal with. You'll need to think about a winter burn down to keep yourself clean before planting next spring. Testing crews are staying up with the harvesters. Don't forget to call in the fields as you're finished. Plot crews are knocking away on the plots. If you have plots to harvest, give us as much notice as possible. To stay up to date, check out our website at croptechinc.com and subscribe to our podcast, Boots in the Field Report. Keep her safe, keep her moving.